If you think that a trip to a tea house means fine china, white linens, and ladies with raised pinkies, you are in for the ride of your life. Today on Tea Time, we're visiting the Plain of Six Glaciers Tea House in Canada's magnificent Rocky Mountains. Saddle up.
Just start making some nice stacks here, guys.
Located 6.5 kilometers up the mountain from the world-renowned Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise, the Plain of Six Glaciers Tea House sits between Lake Louise and Abbott Pass in Banff National Park in the Canadian Rockies. The tea house is nestled between 6 glaciers. Well, that explains the name, and is accessible only by hiking in or by horseback. Whether you ride in or hoof it up yourself, it takes most people a good hour and a half to get there.
Hello. Hello, how are you? I'm on a horse. Yeah.
The tea house is so remote, most supplies are flown in at the top of the season by helicopter, and then fresh goods are carried in daily after that on foot by staff members. Helicopter Day, as it's known, takes place each June. Tea house owner Suzanne Gillies Smith, her family, friends, and staff share the helicopter for the day with the neighboring tea house. And when I say neighboring, I mean it's a 2-hour hike using high mountain trail to get from the Plain of Six Glaciers to the Lake Agnes Tea House.
Helicopter Day is the most important day when it comes to supplying the tea house. This year we did 27 trips of close to 1,000 pounds each trip. We couldn't, at this point with this many customers, we couldn't do without it.
And if you think that Helicopter Day is something, try this on for size. The tea house is as rustic as they come. They have no electricity, no phone, and no indoor plumbing. If you know what I mean. If you don't mind excusing me, it was a long horse ride. I'll be right back. It's no accident that the tea house is rustic. It was built between 1924 and 1927 with local stone and lumber. The Canadian Pacific Railway commissioned the tea house and put 2 Swiss mountain guides, Ernest and Edward Feutz, in charge of overseeing its construction. They fashioned the building in the Swiss tradition of a halfway house for weary travelers. And Suzanne Gillies Smith gets a lot of those. It's not uncommon to see 300 or 400 guests each and every single day. And keeping them well fed is the first order of the day. Well, I'm up here at the tea house with Suzanne, who is the runner, the owner, resident, chef. Am I missing anything?
Dog owner, tired staff.
Tired staff. I can tell you keep yourself pretty busy here, right? I'm under the impression that you guys have about 300 or 400 guests here a day.
We do.
You can get up to that many? How can you possibly keep track? This is a tiny kitchen.
Basically, I bake until I get up around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I keep baking until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we just keep going.
So you're a busy girl.
I'm a busy girl.
And that's every day?
That's every day.
My goodness gracious. And how many staff members do you have helping you out here?
I have 4 other ones today.
Okay. Can I help at all, or do I need to be prepared?
Sure, you can cut some. You just do that.
Awesome. And you've got some lovely apple pie there too?
I do,
Thank you very much. And what's your favorite thing to make in the kitchen here?
I actually like the chocolate cake. The chocolate cake is my favorite. It's what people like the most. It's family recipe.
in the wintertime? Do you stay up here as well? Do you go back down
No,
to the town?
we are here until the middle of October.
Okay, cool. And then what happens for
That's
the rest
it? You're
of the
done?
That's all. I've put in my
Alrighty.
work for the day.
Alrighty.
I just sat on a horse for 2 hours to get up here, Suzanne.
know,
I hope
very
you can
hard
cut me
work.
some slack here. And what happens on your off-season? It just shuts down? Does anyone stay up here and look after it?
We shut down, and the trail actually ends up having about 5 avalanche routes on it, so
Oh, wow.
there's no access.
Okay. So your seasonal dates are again from about May till October?
Yes, end of May, beginning of June till middle of October.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to try and take all this in while I'm out here, and I'm going to tell everyone about it because these look fantastic.
Awesome.
I think it's time to eat.
Alrighty.
Thanks for having me. With the vast majority of the tea house's seats being on the outside of the idyllic structure rather than on the inside, the hikers, who come from all over the world, can enjoy the spectacular mountain vistas while they nibble on their tea house goodies. Because the tea house is in Banff National Park, which is a protected wilderness area, and was named a UNESCO Heritage Site in 1984, Suzanne Gillies-Smith does her very best to run a very environmentally friendly business. But there's another reason Gillies-Smith is so protective of the area. The tea house has been a part of her life, her whole life. You see, she's the second generation of her clan to own and run the tea house. It's been in the family for over 50 years. And she has some fascinating stories about growing up in such an isolated, wild place, including tales of her first pet, a marmot. She would come up the trail every morning, scratch on the door, we'd feed her scraps, play with her, and then she'd leave before the tourists came. And a couple times she'd bring her babies to the tea house. And so my sister and I would want to pick them up, and she would run in front of us so that we didn't pick them up, but we were allowed to see them. But her we could pick up. If hiking up a mountain isn't exactly your cup of tea, then Lake Louise has plenty more to offer. I'll give you a hint about what's to come. It involves a paddle, a princess, and a fancy hotel. Lake Louise is about 2.5 kilometers long, and it sits at an altitude of 1,700 meters. As the story goes, back in 1882, native Stony guides led outfitter Tom Wilson to the place they knew as Ho Run Num Nay, the Lake of Little Fishes. Because of the lake's turquoise green color and stunning beauty, Wilson named it Emerald Lake. The lake was later renamed Lake Louise in honor of Queen Victoria's fourth daughter, Princess Louise Caroline Alberta. In my opinion, one of the most spectacular parts of Lake Louise is the color of the lake itself, and it's caused by something called rock flour, which is a finely ground rock caused by the moving up and down of the glacier against the mountain. And when the ice melts, this powder-like rock flour is moved into the lake, suspending it in the icy cold water, which is what gives glacier lakes like Lake Louise this fantastic emerald color. Hiking up a mountain is great, but sitting back and riding up a mountain is even better. Just across the highway from the village of Lake Louise is the Lake Louise ski area, and as soon as the snow is all gone, the place is taken over by bears. Grizzly bears. From about mid-May until the beginning of October, you can take one of these wonderful sightseeing chairlifts to the top, or a gondola. It takes about 14 minutes to get from the bottom to the very top, and to me that's plenty of time to take in this spectacular scenery and hopefully see yourself a grizzly bear. Right there. There's a grizzly. Right there. Once at the top, there's plenty to see and do. There are 2 designated viewpoints to take in the world-class scenery, including a bird's-eye view of Lake Louise itself. Of course, there's hiking, or you could head over to the Wildlife Interpretive Center. Throughout the day, there's a smorgasbord of award-winning programs to choose from, including indoor presentations and a variety of guided walks. The interpretive guides will teach you about the region, its history, plants, and abundant wildlife, including the grizzly bear. So I'm up here with Matt, who is an interpretive mountain guide up here at Lake Louise. Matt, thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for talking to me. First questions first. I want to know, with all this forest that these mountains have to offer, why do the bears choose to hang out in such a high traffic area?
Well, just like you said, there is a lot of forest in this area, as you can see. And with a ski area like this, it's very unique in such that we have consistent open grasslands right here. And with the slope facing in a southerly direction, it lends itself very well to the growth of berries. And as a result, grizzlies are able to get much of the food that they would normally need right here in one spot.
Oh, cool. So is there any connection between the bears and this being a good habitat for them and why the ski resort is here?
It was actually a coincidence. The ski area started in two spots, right here and over on the next mountain over, and they combined in the 30s and started to notice that grizzlies were coming very often during the summer, and then just open it for people.
Very cool. So it's just prime real estate for people skiing and for bears eating berries.
Absolutely. It
Awesome.
worked out really well.
Perfect. So you see bears pretty regularly. How often?
I would usually see about 1 to 6 grizzly bears a day. Every day that I work. They might stick around for maybe 5 minutes, could be 2 hours. I mean, it depends just on their behavior and what they want to do at the time.
Holy, and usually they're just hanging out.
Pretty much.
Just hanging
you can
out.
see them as close as over there, maybe as close as we are right now to where I work. It could be wherever they want to do.
See, in your mind, like I think that a grizzly bear, I think like, oh, I think attacks, that sort of stuff, but they're really just hanging out.
They're peaceful grazing animals for the most part. If they feel they're cornered and they need to show their dominance to whatever happens to be around, they will. But for the most part, they're relatively quiet, maintaining their peaceful grazing nature.
Very cool. And one last question, how do you tell the difference between a grizzly and any other type of bear that you get around here?
The only other type of bear we would get in the area is a black bear. And although it's called a black bear, it generally can come in any color in this area. So the best ways to tell, a grizzly has a very large hump on its back designed for digging, whereas a black bear would have very large hindquarters designed for climbing trees. That grizzlies generally come in 2 colors. A black bear will generally be a single tone throughout. And a grizzly has a very long, short nose and a wide face designed for popping into little holes for digging for animals, whereas a black bear wouldn't. It's more of an elongated face.
Wow, you are a pro.
Try and do what I can.
Thanks for talking, Matt.
No problem, cheers.
Well, after spending a day checking out the beautiful mountain vistas and hiking and spending some time with the grizzly bears, I don't think anything could polish off a day better than a good meal. And I hear the folks here at the Lake Louise ski area have a pretty sweet spread waiting for us down at the bottom of the mountain, which is a good thing because I'm starving. I could probably eat a bear. Just kidding, guys. As you can see, Lake Louise has something to offer for everyone, and this place of spectacular beauty has inspired many an artist. For convenience example, how about myself? Tea houses, horses, grizzly bears, cruising up mountains on flying chairs. There's lots to do in this great place. Just check out the smile that's on my face. I took deep breaths of mountain breeze and just went canoeing in Lake Louise. You know you got to make it to Lake Louise. Yeah. For Tea Time, I'm Garrett Clark, saying farewell from Lake Louise and the Canadian Rocky Mountains.